Hello, my name is Katie Walter. I'm a community outreach specialist at the Military Family Research Institute at Purdue. My email is on the slide here, and today I'm going to be going over our Measuring Communities data portal, data website, data tool. This presentation will take approximately 30 to 45 minutes, so feel free to pause, stop, come back to this recording, use it as a reference, and if you have any questions, please reach out to me, Katie Walter, at the email that you see on this slide here. So over the course of the next few minutes, I will be going over and answering two questions. First, what is measuring communities? And second, how does it apply to your work? Before I get started, I wanted to just pause and share. Measuring Communities is a creation through a partnership between the Military Family Research Institute at Purdue and the Purdue Center for Regional Development, another center on campus. MFRI comes to this space with content knowledge about the military and veteran family, and the Purdue Center for Regional Development helps us think through ways to visually represent this data on your screens. So they help us map some of this data, make it easy to understand, user-friendly, all of the above. Now, what is Measuring Communities? Measuring Communities is really a tool that addresses both the peoples, the military-connected person, people, population, and places in which they live. So you can log into Measuring Communities at www.measuringcommunities.org and find data about military and veteran relevant characteristics. You can learn how communities are changing over time. When appropriate, we do have data for the last 5 years. So you can look at trend data, for example. And you can also use Measuring Communities to learn how communities compare to one another. We have data when appropriate at the state level, the congressional district level, and the county level. So you can look at one county in the state of Indiana, for example, and compare it to neighboring counties to see how that county, that community compares to others. Measuring communities can be applied in a number of ways. You can use the data in Measuring Communities to identify gaps in support that are actionable at state and local levels. You can also use this data to build or adjust programming depending on what you're seeing in the site for your community based on needs, based on issues, based on challenges, gaps, whatever that is. That you're seeing for your specific community. And you can also use Measuring Communities as a platform to share information with others in hopes of making evidence-informed decisions. One of the things that we really tried to do with Measuring Communities is make this a platform for you to share information. You can download data from the table view, from the graph view, from the map view, into a CSV spreadsheet, so you can do further analyses. And you can also print maps, snapshots, take screenshots, share it in presentations when you go into the community. Our data that's included in Measuring Communities is funneled through one of 10 domain topics. You're seeing on the slide here that we've got data for K-12 education, post-secondary education, behavioral health, medical care, community, employment, financial, legal, housing, and demographics. So say, for example, that you're interested in the data that exists for the demographics domain. In the site, when you click on demographics, what you're going to see here is then a list of data sets, or what we refer to as data indicators. Across the site, we've got more than 60 different data indicators consistent and funneled through one of those 10 domain topics. These data indicators do come from more than 30 different credible data sources, and they do include we include the most recent data available for these data indicators. So what you're looking at potentially is a range of 12 to 18, maybe 24 months from the current date. Each data indicator has a different schedule for updating. So of course we do that as soon as we've got the data the next month, we're adding it into measuring communities, but we know as users of data ourselves that there is a natural lag with data, right? It takes time to research, it takes time to analyze, to compile your findings, share it with others. So there is this natural lag with some of the data here, but do note it's the most recent data available based on these different data sources. Each one of our over 60 different data indicators has what we call a confidence index score. And you can find that by looking at your data indicator, hovering over this eye icon. You're reading the description of the data set. You're reading the source of the data, the date of the data, the best way to view the data, because you can view data when appropriate in a map view, a table view, or a graph view. And then you're seeing what we call our confidence index score. Essentially, broadly, what you're looking at here is a score out of 5 stars, where 1 out of 5 star is your lower score, and a 5 out of 5 star is your higher score. Your 5 out of 5 star is going to be typically your higher quality data because it includes all 5 of the criteria that go into creating this score. So typically 5 out of 5 star data sets or data indicators or data sources have high response rates. The researcher or the author used well-validated and reliable instruments with established norms. They used random probability sampling methods and so forth. So we know, of course, that because we're compiling all of these different data sources and data indicators and measuring communities, that not every data source or data indicator can be used in the same way, right? So you might look at this indicator here and see this is a 5 out of 5 star data source data indicator. So that is going to be your highest quality data, where maybe a 2 out of 5 star is going to be kind of that lower score on that index. It doesn't mean that that information is not useful or helpful. In Blue Star Families looks at geobatching, for example, and that information is very, very interesting, very relevant to military connected families. And so we might look at the military family lifestyle survey and look at what the results are sharing with us, what the findings are, but it might not be representative in our specific community. We might want to couple that with other things and use this data source or data indicator in more of an advisory capacity compared to your 5 out of 5 star data source or data indicator. Now, how does measuring communities apply to my work? So imagine that you're a professional in the Midwest part of the country and you're interested in supporting veteran families. What can you do? So you can go into measuring communities and you can start in a number of ways. First, you can go into measuring communities, use the data to recognize who lives in the community that you serve. So you're doing that by first going to the demographics domain and looking at some of those data indicators that might help you recognize who lives in your community. What's the total veteran population? How many are women veterans? How many are younger veterans, et cetera, et cetera. You can also use measuring communities to assess the landscape of the community that you serve. So you're not just going into measuring communities and looking at who lives in your community, but you're also going into measuring communities and assessing, okay, where do they live? What is the landscape of the community in which this population lives? What's your poverty rate? What is your digital divide index? Things like that that might help you think about the place in which our military connected population lives. You can also use measuring communities then to identify key needs that might impact the families that you support. So you can go in, behavioral health is a big, big domain in our measuring communities data tool. You can look at behavioral health data. You can look at employment or unemployment data. You can look at financial indicators that might impact the financial well-being of military connected families and so forth. So say first we go in to measuring communities and we say, okay, I want to learn now who lives in my community. This is just a list, it's not exhaustive, of things that this case studies, this person or this organization who serves veteran families in the Midwest part of the country might be interested in using measuring communities to find data. So you can look at, and we've got data for the total number of veterans by county. You can look at male, female breakout of veterans by county. You can look at your veteran age ranges by county, race and ethnicity by congressional district and state, veteran households with or without children by the county level. You can look at the era of service, so when these veterans served by county. And you can also look at veterans who are institutionalized by the state level. So say, for example, we go into measuring communities and we're interested in finding, okay, what's the total number of veterans who live in my specific region of the country or community? What you can do, and I've just taken a screenshot here and I'll show you in just a minute of how you can get here, but you can go into measuring communities, you can go into the map view, and you can see that I selected your veteran population by sex and age, and I selected your total veteran population. What is showing on this slide here is a heat map, meaning the lighter yellow colors, less veterans live here. Raw number population estimate. So you've got your darker red colors, more veterans live in these places of the Midwest. So you can see, okay, makes sense. This is Marion County, Indiana, right? That's where Indianapolis is located. You've got your Chicagoland over here. You've got your Madison, Milwaukee area. That makes sense. But you can go into measuring communities and you can look at this information. You can also click on your map and get a list of how many veterans live in that county, how many are male, how many are female, how many are these different age ranges. Again, you can also go into measuring communities and look at and assess the landscape of the community in which these military connected families are living. So you can go into your community domain and you can look at data indicators like the digital divide index by county level. You can look at your rural urban continuum codes by county level. So is this area or community more rural or more urban? You can look at the poverty rate by county. You can look at the number of veterans with an income below the poverty line by your county level. And you can also look at veteran population trends over time. Is it going up? Is it going down? What does that look like per county level? So say again, you go into your community domain on measuring communities, and you're interested in your digital divide. So you're looking here, you select on your digital divide index in this map, and you're seeing again your heat map. So that lighter yellow colors, right? These, it's a smaller digital divide, but your darker blue is going to be your higher digital divide. So in those parts of the country, there's going to be some major issues with access and adoption as it applies to technology. So you can go in, see what that digital divide is for your specific county. And then again, once you've looked at your demographics domain, you've looked at your community domain, you might be interested as well in identifying some needs that might exist for the military connected population in your community. You can go into behavioral health, and this is not an exhaustive list right here, but I just highlighted a few that might pique your interest. You can go into behavioral health, look at your STAR behavioral health providers registry. So that's going to be a list of behavioral health or mental health providers who have gone through specific military culture training. You can look at that list of providers by county. You can look at veteran suicide rates. You can also look at veteran suicide counts by your state. You can look at your veteran unemployment rates, especially by age, by county and state level. You can look at VA employment support facilities by county level as well. You can look at your financial domain and identify the veteran households on SNAP benefits. We've got these separated out by women veteran-led households and veteran men-led households by congressional district. You can also look at your veteran median income by county. You can go into housing, look at some of this point in time count data. So you're going to see your male and veteran or your male and female homeless veterans by state and continuum of care, or COC. Same thing with the breakout of race and ethnicity. You can look at your veteran disability ratings, different percentages by the county level. You can also get a feel for your veteran educational attainment by the county level as well. So I do have listed here just a few ideas based on previous partnerships that we've had, or circles that we've been in. How are people using this data to make informed decisions in their communities, and what could this case study of this organization, this person who serves veteran families in the Midwest part of the country, do with some of this data? So they can use measuring communities and use this data in measuring communities to explore pockets of the Midwest with large concentrations of veterans specific to their scope of work. Maybe that looks like looking at women veterans. Where are a lot of women veterans living? That might be younger veterans. That might be older veterans. That might be veterans of specific races and ethnicities, veterans with children, possibly veterans who served in varying eras, whatever that looks like for your scope of work. But you can identify where these people are living, how many people are living in your community that are a part of these different subgroups of the veteran population, because maybe your programs and services are specifically targeting these different groups of the veteran population. Maybe they're not, your programs and services could better target some of the different groups within the veteran population in your community. So you can use measuring communities to explore pockets of the Midwest with large concentrations of veterans. You can also use measuring communities to identify communities with a large digital divide and understand whether this divide is mostly due to broadband infrastructure, so the literal wires in the ground, whether your community has access to internet or high-speed internet, or socioeconomic variables that also influence adoption and access to technology. So maybe that looks at the poverty rate of your community or your educational attainment less than high school. Maybe that looks at age, for example. Maybe that assesses means of digital literacy. But you can go into measuring communities and identify different things that might exist, an assessment of the landscape of your community in which this veteran population lives. You can also begin to detect needs that impact veteran families. Maybe that looks at a lack of behavioral health providers who have gone through this specific military culture training in your area. And there's many veterans who might be reaching out for behavioral health care, but very few providers are aware of military culture. Maybe that looks like identifying a high veteran unemployment rate in your county and how it's been consistent for the last 5 years, whatever that looks like. So at this point, I've gone through a tutorial in terms of just looking at a presentation, going through different ways, kind of overview, high level, how measuring communities can be important to you and how it could help you in your scope of work. I looked at a case study specific for the veteran family, but we do have data in measuring communities that's not just your veteran family, but it also includes your active duty family, your selected reserve family, which includes your reserve and National Guard family, and so forth. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, and I'm going to start sharing my internet browser and go through what measuring communities looks like if you were to type in www.measuringcommunities.org into a web browser. So say, for example, you type this into a web browser, what will happen is it will prompt you with a pop-up screen, and it will say, the first button will say, explore web-based data. You're going to click explore web-based data. The next screen will ask you for a member ID. Then it will ask you for your name. Then it will ask you for your email address, and then you'll click submit. When you do all 4 of those steps, then you'll enter into the landing page, which is what you're seeing now. If you don't already have a member ID specific to your agency or you as an individual, you can reach out to me, Katie Walter. Again, my email is throughout this presentation here, so feel free to reach out to me and I can get you a member ID. It's a completely free resource for you to use, so I would want you, of course, to be able to access that. So now we're on the landing page. What you're seeing here is a scrolling banner. These are things that are new. You've got your about, so you can read more about measuring communities, MFRI, PCRD. You can look at your news, some things that are new in measuring communities. And then you can select your topics tab. Your topics tab is probably the route that I would suggest you go when you go into measuring communities if you're interested in looking at specific data indicators based on your topic domain. So here's where all of those individual data indicators are housed. Again, they're funneled through one of these 10 domain topics. So we've got data, like I said, in demographics, which we looked at in our PowerPoint presentation, also community, which we looked at. We also have data in employment, post-secondary education, legal, medical care, K through 12 education, behavioral health, financial, and housing. When I hover over something, for example, you're just getting a preview of the different types of data indicators that are included in this specific domain. So let's go through the first example in terms of my PowerPoint slide and how I got those screenshots of the map. So say we select demographics, right? Because we want to learn more about who lives in our community. So we select demographics, we select view data, and what you will automatically be defaulted to is a table view. Data indicators in measuring communities can be viewed at both the table view, the graph view, and the map view. So it's defaulted to table view. This is a screenshot that you would have seen in that PowerPoint slide that I presented. So here's where you learn more about who lives in your community, right? So you can look at your veteran sex and age by county. So what's your total veteran breakout? How many are male, female, age ranges, race, ethnicity, households with or without children. And then we also have information, like I said, for your active duty population and your selected reserve population. The data for the veteran population in this specific domain comes from your U.S. Census Bureau, where your active duty population and your selected reserve population data comes from our partnership with the National Guard Bureau, which uses the DMDC to identify this data. So, or to gather this data rather. So we've got our different data indicators here. I'll use our veteran sex and age by county. You can select on here. When you hover over this eye icon, again, you can read the description of the data, the source of the data, the date of the data, the confidence index score, right? 5 out of 5 stars is going to be your highest score, highest quality data typically, and then the best way to view this data. So select on your veteran sex and age, going through the table view. I'm going to select Indiana as our example here. I'm going to check all of the counties because I'm interested in all of the counties for the state. I'm going to look at just 2021 data. And then down here, you can select up to 5 different data fields that you can view on your screen at once. But I will show you in just a minute that you can look at all in an Excel spreadsheet. So I'm going to select on your total veteran population from the census, and then I'm going to look at the percent of this population that are male and the percent of this population that are female. I'm going to click submit. And then what you're seeing here is that breakout. So you've got Adams County, the year, the total veteran population from the census, the percent that are male, and the percent that are female for all counties across the state. What you can do, because this is a lot of information, you can download or download all depending on which data you're interested in. You can select, I might advise you to select download all, and what that will do, it will prompt you to open and it'll open an Excel spreadsheet, a CSV file onto your computer, and you can look at all of this information in an Excel spreadsheet form. You can also view this data indicator in your graph view. So say you're interested in your graph view, and I am going to go back and take us through the steps again. You can go right to graph. And then when you go to graph, you can select back your veteran sex and age by county. You can select which data field you're interested in. You can just do one at once. So I'm going to do the total veteran population from the census. We've got Indiana. We've got some auto-selected counties here just based on my last selection. And then I'm going to look at 2021 data, 2020 data, 2019 data, and 2018 data. I'm going to look at the last 4 years that we've got. Click refresh. And then what you're seeing here is a graph. Obviously, there's a lot of counties on here. It auto selects your 10 counties when you've clicked check all in previous steps. So that's why we've got the first 10 alphabetical counties here. But I can select here on, off, different counties. Maybe I just am interested in a few, maybe let's see, 4 here. I can select refresh and I can get just those 4. So you can select on, I can look at the percent that are male, select again, and the percent that are female, and refresh again. So you can get a feel for what that looks like. You can also go into your map feature and view. Click OK. That's just a pop-up here. I'm going to select off some. I'm going to start with your demographics here. I'm going to select on your county boundary. I'm going to select on your state boundary. And I'm going to go down because I like to look at the veteran population in raw numbers. And I'm going to look at total veteran population. So what you're seeing here is the map is spinning. Here we go, is a national map. So I'm going to zoom in because I'm interested in Indiana, maybe. And I'll select on Tippecanoe County. This is where I'm currently located. And here's where you get a feel for the total number of veterans living in that county. How many are male? How many are female? How many are 18 to 34? And all of these other age groupings here. You can select on, select off, whatever is of interest to you. Maybe you're interested in the active duty service member population. You can do that here. You can select and look at your selected reserve population. You can do veteran households with children, without children, veteran races or ethnicities by congressional district, and then also by your state. You can do whatever makes most sense to you for your scope of work. You can also look at, and I'm going to go to your community domain, again, assessing your community landscape. So you're looking at your digital divide index. You can select on your digital divide index. You can say, okay, I'm interested in Indiana. If there's a different state that you're interested in, you can do that. Select a different state, check all again, and then use our most recent data from 2020 to look at your digital divide index score, which also has a socioeconomic score and an infrastructure score. The two of these make up your digital divide index score. And you can get those scores here. So again, you might be looking at your digital divide index score. This score is going to tell you how high your digital divide is in that specific community. The higher the score, from 0 to 100 indicates a higher digital divide. So that community has more challenges with access and adoption of technology needs. You can go into that map view again, which is what you were seeing on my presentation slide. There's some things that are automatically selected here. You can select off, toggle on, toggle off. You might be interested in that digital divide index. You're looking at that heat map again, right? So your lower numbers, it's a smaller digital divide. So that county has less issues, challenges with access and adoption of technology, where your darker blue a score above 30 indicates a higher digital divide. You can select on again or click. Maybe we're looking at Park County, Indiana. You're seeing the digital divide score is 33.28, so that's above 30. We're indicating that this county in Indiana has a high digital divide. And you're seeing both the socioeconomic score, again, that looks at socioeconomic variables that might influence someone's ability or access or understanding to adopt technology. So that's looking at socioeconomic variables like your poverty rate, your educational attainment of high school or less, age 65 and older. It's looking at other digital literacy related challenges. And then your infrastructure score is looking at your literal wires in the ground. So that's going to be more associated with your broadband infrastructure. Does that community have access to internet, high-speed internet, things like that? So again, at this point, we've looked at the route with topics. There's also different routes. You can go in, click your snapshots. This is your state snapshot for Indiana, which looks at different data points that might be of interest to you. They're most commonly selected indicators across the site, all in one snapshot. You can do the same thing for your county snapshot. So maybe you're interested in Adams County, Indiana. You can look at some of this data here, print this off, print it into a PDF, whatever that looks like. And then you can go into your reports and publications tab. We just released our 2023 Measuring Our Communities report. This report looks at the state of military and veteran families for the nation. We just launched it September 19th, 2023. You can read that report here. And you can also look at other state reports. One of the things that we've got is our congressional district snapshots. Is the 116th Congress. We're currently putting together our 118th Congress for these congressional district snapshots, but that might be of interest. I can select on maybe Indiana here, and you're seeing what possibly these snapshots look like. It's giving you, again, snapshot based on congressional district. Again, I'm going to put my PowerPoint slide back on, but if you have any questions about measuring communities, how to access measuring communities, what to do if you're in measuring communities and you're not quite finding the information that you want to find. You can reach out to me. Again, my name is Katie Walter. I'm the Community Outreach Specialist at the Military Family Research Institute, and my email is here on the slide for you. Again, this is a completely free resource for you to use, so I hope that it is something that is of interest to you. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope to hear from you if you've got any questions, but other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.